In this video, we completely revisit one of the happiest seaside towns in the entire United States. Today, we are looking at the always lovely Venice, Florida. Venice, Florida is in an incredibly interesting spot going towards the end of 2022 here. Growing up, this area was known for older, it was historic, it was charming, but over the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen a lot of changes. Average age coming down, families are moving in, you have new construction options, you have people that value a safe area, but they like the coast, right? And they even like that they're preserving the historic charm and all those kind of things. So you have the goods of the old school, the goods of the new school that have created a lovely, interesting environment, and I wanna hash that out today. We're gonna talk geography, why that matters to you. We're gonna talk the neighborhoods and where to live. We're gonna talk the lifestyle, the beaches, the nature, the trails, and much, much more in the next few minutes, so please stick around and let's get into it. Okay, starting off with geography. So Venice, Florida, an interesting spot in the state. It's in Southwest Florida on the Gulf Coast, and you're almost dead center in the middle of Naples and Tampa, Florida. So you're an hour and a half north of Naples and an hour and a half south of Tampa, which puts you an hour to an hour and a half of two really large international airports, a stone's throw to a bunch of regional airports in addition to that, and then really close to some of the best overall healthcare and hospital systems in the entire state for all kinds of specialties. In town itself, on a micro level, Venice is considered about 30 minutes south of the larger, more commercially popular Sarasota, Florida, which has your Siesta Key and Lido and all of that. And in every essence of the word, it's basically a charming coastal beach town, in my opinion. Hey guys, really quick interruption. Thank you again for checking out the channel. I am your host, Adam Hancock. If you're looking to buy real estate, sell, relocate any timeline, please consider using our team. Also, make sure you check out the description box below. We have free digital guides, analytical tools, anything you could possibly think of. Without further ado, let's hop back in. Okay, next let's talk neighborhoods, where to actually live. The low-hanging fruit is Venice, Florida is not your master plan. It's not cookie cutter, everything doesn't look the same. Do you hate HOAs? Do you hate CDDs? Do you hate people telling you you can't put a hedge in front of your house, right? This area allows access to make the home your own. And on top of that, look at the mature landscaping. They didn't plat everything down. It's an older area, and you look straight ahead of the street, you can see open water, right? Just a unique environment overall. Now, goods and bads with that is an environment like this that it's not just 15 home neighborhoods that look all the same, then you can just pick one. Could be trickier to navigate potentially. But if you can navigate it successfully, I think you can really win in a lot of ways. And I want to tell you a little bit about my premise of doing so. So real quick, let's talk efficiency and affordability. So I ran an analysis myself that was all 25 beach towns in Florida on the Gulf Coast where you can feasibly walk from your house directly to the beach. I ranked them all. Out of all 25, Venice, Florida was the cheapest overall. I mean, that's every sale, 24 months, right? And then take the last 12 months, right? I just ran that analysis. And crazy market, right? It should, in theory, be some of the worst pricing examples if you just had to pick a broad bucket. $421,000 median price across all home types, condos, everything, and a $470,000 average price, which that small gap between those two tells you there's not 400 outliers that cost $3 million here, right? So the way I would look at this whole thing is in 3 flanks, and that's all surrounding the island I'm standing on right here. So the way to really look at this thing is everything in Venice, for the most part, flanks the value proposition of living around downtown Venice, because that's your commercial district, your shopping, your dining, and the beaches all in one, right? So there's 3 ways you can do it. And one of those ways is living above the island, right? So your problem in Venice isn't getting to the beach. It's not east to west. Everything can go east to west. It's what else do you want access to? So it's kind of a classy problem. If you go north of the island, and I'm saying North Venice, Nokomis, or Osprey, which are 2 other cities in Sarasota County, then what you do is you stay close to the beaches, stay close to the downtown, but you also get a little closer to Siesta Key and downtown Sarasota, so you're kind of in the middle and you don't lose both. Harder to navigate the housing a little bit, so there's some sacrifices, goods and bads, right? The second option is living on the island itself, right? So one, being able to walk to the beach, and like the amount of $400,000 or under beach condos here, like condo motels, like these kind of places, like whether you empty nester it, you snowbird it or whatever, is really abundant, right? So affordable beach town, and it feels beachy, it feels historic, it feels like what you would picture coming to Florida. Or just east of the island, but island adjacent. That's your second one, right? And that's embracing beach, right? Third one is going south of the island. And that's getting on the line of like a Englewood and South Venice vibe, right? You get a little bit below the beaches. Same coastal proximity again, right? So why would you would say, why would I go south of all the Sarasota stuff if I could go north? The reason is that's where all the new development is. That's where downtown Wellen Park is. all the new neighborhoods, right? It's a ton of new construction, 9, 10, 11, 12 neighborhoods, right? So you can see that it's not black and white. So in one tour, you could hop around with someone from my team, and I think it's visceral. You'll know right away. But those are the 3 ways, if you're researching this online, that I would look at Venice, Florida as a whole. All right, the first thing for lifestyle is you cannot talk about Venice, Florida without talking about the beaches. The big thing here in my mind as a differentiator versus, there's a lot of beaches in Florida, is that the Venice area, it's no barrier island. Everywhere, Siesta Key, Longboat Key, a lot of places in Florida, it's either you're on the beach or you're not, and it's divided by bridges on the barrier island, right? Which is nice on its own outright. But the difference on no barrier island is when you're in most parts of this area in Venice, it feels like you're at the beach. It's kind of hard to describe. When you're downtown Venice, it feels coastal. You can feel the breeze. I think that's a really big difference in the overall appeal to this area specifically. So the other big thing beyond the non-barrier island is just it feels more untouched. Low density of people you can see here. It is the morning, but less people. It's way more nature-centric vibe. You have dunes, you have protected areas, you have all this kind of stuff, and it feels much more like a northern beach to me, or like even a lot of beaches in Naples, Florida, versus like the really like clear waters and Siesta Keys and Anna Maria Islands of the world. And if this is more your style of an old Florida foliage kind of beach, this is an unbelievable spot. And the last thing, sticking on beaches here because it's so important, is I think the variety, right? So I am standing here at Venice Beach, which is one of the 3, but you also have in a very close proximity, you have Casperson Beach, which is technically the shark's tooth capital of the world, really unique spot. And you also have Brohard Beach, which is really our only dog beach in town besides lower Pinellas County, Florida. So all in all, I think it offers a lot if this is your kind of vibe and style overall. Okay, the second thing for lifestyle beyond the beaches in Venice has to be the trail environment, right? So in my experience, customers really seek out the nature-centric ability to hike, to walk, to bicycle, or to even paddle. And Venice is an unbelievable spot for that. You have Venetian Waterway Park, which is basically, it's about 5 miles of linear bicycle and walking trails, and that runs right along the intercoastal, which is cool. Then that connects to the popular Legacy Trail, which between the 2 creates about 23, 24 miles of direct, uninterrupted trails, super functional, super paved, and it runs all the way through town. And then you have places like Oscar Scheer Park, which people view as almost like a stopover, which has trails on its own outright. But needless to say, there's a ton of options, regardless of your lifestyle, whether you like to road bike is big, you like to just hike and walk at your leisure, or even paddle, kayaking, paddleboarding is also a phenomenal spot for that because of how the coast hugs the mainland. And I think the last thing is customers of mine, in my experience, have, what they mention a lot of times is the ability to just uninterrupted bike 40, 50 miles, whether that's on a loop or not, and you have here and you have Casey Key and you have everything in between, without having to chop that up, I think is unique to the state and especially Southwest Florida. All right, another one for lifestyles, let's talk shopping and dining. You can see my backdrop here. I'm standing in downtown historic Venice, Florida, which dates back to the 1920s. And I think, in my opinion, it really encapsulates old Florida charm. But one of the most unique elements of this town is the local owned independent aspect. You have everything from cafes and boutiques and clothing shops and everything in between. The restaurant environment, you have burgers to sushi to gelato to fresh seafood, and you're a mile where I stand to Venice Beach, let alone the pet friendliness and just lovely, lovely overall, and definitely worth a look, but I think it's unique in many facets. All right, and the last thing for lifestyle, let's talk schools and education options. The interesting thing with Venice in this area is that I think with the stigma of it being older and retirement centric, that I think the family part is overlooked. And I'm gonna rattle them off in a second, but within a stone's throw where I stand here out in front of the high school, it's very interesting, right? And what you gotta consider is that all these schools are public for the most part. So all these kids live in this district. In non-master plan areas, it's hard to, it's not as evident what kid-friendly neighborhoods there are and all that kind of thing, right? But with school choice in Florida, no one's really school choicing to go south out of Sarasota to Venice, right? So these families, I bet 99% of them live in this district. And what you have here from going north to south, Laurel Nokomis is a K through 8, it's a 9 out of 10. And it's an A+ on niche.com. You have Pineview for the gifted, which is a public charter, #1 ranked elementary school in the entire United States, right? You have Venice Middle at a 6 out of 10. You have Venice Elementary that's an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Venice Senior High is a 6 out of 10, but so is Lakewood High, which everybody loves, and so is Riverview High in South Sarasota. And this one's a mile from the beach, right? If you're looking for a safe, inclusive environment, it'd be hard to beat that kind of thing, So overall, this district, it's almost like, Sarasota County which Venice is in, is the second ranked in the entire state of Florida for public school districts, right? And a lot of that, even though Lakewood Ranch is in vogue, a lot of the reason for that stuff is Venice, because Lakewood Ranch is in Manatee County, it's not Sarasota. And I think all in all, this is one of the most underrated pieces of this city. All right, my friends, that is a wrap for this relook at the awesome Venice, Florida. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you've not already done so. If you're buying real estate, you're selling, you're moving, regardless of your timeline, please consider using my team. We have specialists in every little nook and cranny of Southwest Florida. Thank you again for watching. We'll see you on the next one.